Let me tell y'all something. I thought I knew who I was. I thought I had seen the world, understood culture, grasped humility. But then I visited Pakistan and something changed in me, not on the surface. Deep down, in the part of you that doesn't talk it feels. See, I didn't just go there to see sights. I went there and saw people, people who had less but smiled more, who owned little but gave everything, who lived simply but dreamed boldly. I was shown what true hospitality looks like. You walk into a stranger's home and you leave as family. I was served tea with stories. I was fed not just food, but warmth, respect, and brotherhood. I walked through streets filled with chaos and color, but I never felt lost. You know why? Because the spirit of that land grabs your soul and holds it steady. I became more grateful. I became more grounded. I became more aware of the beauty in people, not things. I became more me. Sometimes you've got to step out of your own world to finally see your heart clearly. Pakistan didn't just show me a different country, it introduced me to a different version of myself. Let me tell you something real, something from the soul. I used to think I had life figured out. I was chasing success, going through routines, doing what I thought was right. But then I visited Pakistan. In that journey, it didn't just shift my perspective, it transformed who I am. See, people talk about travel like it's about ticking boxes on a map. But the truth is, sometimes you don't travel to see the world, you travel to see yourself. And that's exactly what happened to me. I became after visiting Pakistan. Now, let's get one thing straight. I didn't go looking to become anything. I didn't expect the streets to talk to my soul or the mountains to humble me. But they did. The call to prayer echoing in the morning, the shopkeeper handing me tea with a smile like we'd known each other for years, the kids laughing and chasing kites on rooftops. All of it cracked something open in me. I saw people who had less than I did but walked around with more joy, more peace, more love than I'd ever carried in my pockets. I saw families who welcomed me in like a long, lost brother, people who gave not from surplus, but from spirit. And I realized I had been rich in money, but poor in presence. I had success, but no stillness. In Pakistan, I didn't just slow down. I woke up. I started to listen more, talk less, feel deeper. I became more grateful, more grounded, more human. And I understood something powerful. Growth only happens when you leave your comfort zone, when you let go of who you think you are and open your arms to who you could become. It wasn't just the beauty of the land, though believe me, the beauty is unreal. It was the rhythm of life, the sacred in the simple, the strength in the struggle. It was the resilience in the eyes of people who have seen hardship and still choose joy. That kind of strength doesn't teach you with words. It teaches you by being. And being around that, it leaves a mark on you. Sometimes strangers show you the best version of yourself. Sometimes a place halfway across the world holds the mirror you've been avoiding. And when that happens, you don't just return home. You return different, you return better. So yeah, I became after visiting Pakistan. I became a better listener, a more present human, a more grateful soul. I didn't just find a new country, I found a new me. I used to think wealth was measured in what you owned. The cars, the clothes, the big house, the latest phone, all those things people chase, I chased them too. I thought they were the signs that I was doing something right, that I was climbing higher, becoming more successful. But then I visited Pakistan, and everything I thought I knew about wealth got turned upside down. Because over there, I learned that true wealth has nothing to do with your possessions, it's about people. It's about the size of your heart, not the size of your wallet. It's about generosity, about how deeply you're willing to give of yourself, even when you don't have much. And that's what I saw every day. I walked through neighborhoods where people didn't have a fraction of what I had back home, but they looked at me like I mattered. They welcomed me in. They made room at their table, handed me a hot meal, poured me tea, and made sure I felt at home. They didn't do it to impress me. They did it because that's who they are. There's a kind of wealth in that spirit, something no bank account can hold. It's a richness of the soul. I met families who lived simply no fancy furniture, no new clothes, sometimes no electricity, and yet they laughed freely. They told stories. They gathered together at the end of the day, not to escape each other with phones or distractions, but to sit, to talk, to connect. I saw kids playing in the streets with joy that couldn't be bought. I saw elders with wisdom in their eyes and peace in their hearts, and for the first time I asked myself, if these people can live like this with so little and still have so much, then what have I been chasing? Back home, we often confuse comfort with happiness. But in Pakistan, I saw people who weren't always comfortable, but they were deeply content. Their relationships were strong. Their values were rooted. Their lives were built around faith, family, and community, not status. And that showed me something important. Real wealth isn't about collecting things. It's about how you live, how you give, how you love. I didn't come back with souvenirs. I came back with perspective. I came back with a new definition of success. It's not about how much you own. It's about how much of yourself you're willing to give. That's what Pakistan taught me. That's what lives in me now. I became richer not because I gained anything material, but because I witnessed something true. I saw how generosity thrives not in abundance, but in spirit, and ever since then, I've been working to live more like that, because that kind of wealth is what really matters. You don't know gratitude until you meet people who smile without having much. I used to think I understood what it meant to be thankful. I'd say grace before meals, thank people for holding the door, appreciate a paycheck. But that was surface-level gratitude. That was routine. It wasn't until I visited Pakistan that I realized gratitude isn't just a word. It's a way of life. I met people who lived in houses no bigger than a single room, who walked miles just to get clean water, who worked long hours just to earn enough for the next day's bread. And yet they smiled like they had the world. They laughed with a fullness that echoed through the air. Their happiness didn't come from what they owned. It came from how they lived, how they loved, how they stayed connected to what truly mattered. In the middle of what some would call hardship, I saw joy that can't be faked. Families sitting together on floors, eating with their hands, laughing between bites, telling stories like they had all the time in the world. Children playing with homemade toys, chasing each other through dusty alleys like they were running through palaces. There was no bitterness, no complaining, no comparing. There was just a quiet appreciation for life, for each other, for the moment. That kind of gratitude shook me to my core, because back home we have everything we think we need: comfort, convenience, choice, but we often forget to be thankful. We're so focused on what's next that we rarely pause to appreciate what's now. In Pakistan, people taught me that gratitude is not about what you have, it's about how you see what you have. It's about looking at a simple meal and feeling full before the first bite. It's about having one fan in the heat and still saying Alhamdulillah, which means praise be to God. It's about waking up, breathing in, and recognizing that life itself is a gift. These were not rich people by the world's standards, but they were rich in a way I hadn't seen before, rich in spirit, rich in resilience, rich in thanks. That changed me. It humbled me. I stopped measuring my life by what I lacked and started recognizing what I'd been given. I saw how much time I'd wasted chasing more instead of cherishing enough. I understood that the people with the most gratitude are often the ones with the least material comfort, and yet they are the ones who truly live. Visiting Pakistan didn't just open my eyes, it opened my heart. It taught me that true gratitude is born in simplicity, grows in humility, and shines brightest in those who smile not because they have everything, but because they appreciate everything they have. Before I visited Pakistan, I thought I understood culture. I had seen pictures, watched documentaries, tried different cuisines in restaurants across the world. But experiencing culture from a distance is not the same as being immersed in it, breathing it in, walking through it. When I visited Pakistan, I wasn't just observing culture, I was living inside it. And in that process, something inside me shifted, something deep, because cultural beauty doesn't just entertain the eyes, it transforms the soul. You start to see the world differently, and more importantly, you start to see yourself differently. Everywhere I went, I was surrounded by colors that seemed to have their own language. The fabrics, the architecture, the spices, everything told a story. The roads buzzed with life, not in chaos, but in rhythm. In Lahore, I stood before monuments that whispered centuries of history. In the mountains of the north, I breathed in silence that spoke louder than words. I saw how people dressed with pride, how they greeted one another with warmth, how they passed down their traditions not as relics of the past, but as living, breathing pieces of identity. This wasn't just beauty, this was meaning. And that beauty, that deep cultural richness, did something to me. It humbled me. It reminded me that the world is so much bigger than the little bubble I came from. It showed me that there's wisdom in every thread of a traditional shawl, in every recipe cooked slowly with care, in every elder whose eyes hold generations of stories. It's easy to look at cultural differences and judge. But when you step into them with respect, with curiosity, you realize how small your own understanding really was. Diversity doesn't divide us, it expands us. And humility is the bridge that lets it happen. I remember sitting in a small village eating with a family who didn't speak my language, and yet I never felt more seen. They shared their food, their stories through gestures, their smiles, their music. There was no need for translation. The human connection said it all. That's the power of culture. It reaches past words. It goes straight to the heart. It's not just about what's different, it's about discovering what's universal. Love, family, faith, honor, laughter, struggle, hope. Pakistan showed me that cultural beauty isn't something you take pictures of and walk away from. It's something you let into your spirit. It softens you. It sharpens your vision. It makes you realize that beauty isn't always polished. Sometimes it's raw, honest, and full of soul. And once you've seen that kind of beauty, you can't go back to living with a closed mind. You start living with open eyes and an open heart. That's what I became after visiting Pakistan, someone more awake to the beauty that exists in the lives, traditions, and hearts of people all over the world. When I visited Pakistan, I didn't speak the local language fluently. I couldn't always understand the conversations around me, and I couldn't always find the right words to respond. But despite the language barrier, I never once felt like an outsider. Because what I learned very quickly is that kindness is a universal language, and Pakistan speaks it fluently. From the moment I arrived, I was met not with suspicion or distance, but with warmth, hospitality, and genuine human connection that didn't require a single word to be felt. It was in the way people smiled at me as I walked through narrow streets, the way shopkeepers offered me tea without expecting anything in return, the way strangers stepped forward to help without being asked. Every gesture, every small act of generosity, spoke louder than any sentence ever could. I remember being in a small town, unfamiliar with my surroundings, trying to find my way to a local site. I didn't have an internet signal, and my map app had stopped working. I must have looked confused because a man passing by noticed immediately. He didn't speak English, and I couldn't explain my destination in Urdu, but he didn't hesitate. He motioned for me to follow, took time out of his day, and led me straight to where I needed to go. Along the way, he smiled, patted my back like an old friend, and offered me a bottle of cold water. That walk said more to me than any conversation ever could. It said, "You're welcome here, you're safe here. You're one of us." That kind of kindness was everywhere. I met families who invited me into their homes simply because they saw me alone. They cooked meals for me as if I were a relative returning after years abroad. The children greeted me with excitement and laughter, and the elders looked into my eyes with a softness that felt like home. No one asked who I was or what I could offer in return. The only thing they cared about was that I was a guest, and in their culture, guests are to be honored, respected, and cared for. That kind of heart doesn't need translation. It's instantly understood. It crosses borders, breaks through barriers, and reminds us that at our core, we're all the same. Pakistan taught me that kindness doesn't always need to be spoken. It just needs to be shown. You don't need to understand someone's words to feel their sincerity. You don't need to share the same language to recognize when someone is treating you with love and dignity. What I experienced in Pakistan wasn't just hospitality. It was a deep, soulful kindness that went far beyond tradition or politeness. It was real, raw, and human, and it changed me. Because when you experience that kind of compassion, you start to realize how powerful it is. You carry it with you, and you begin to offer it to others, no matter where you are. Every journey teaches you who you are, and who you can become. Before I traveled to Pakistan, I thought I had a clear idea of who I was. I had my routines, my opinions, my lifestyle. I believed growth came from setting goals and pushing hard within the space I already knew. But I've come to realize that some parts of you can only be unlocked when you step outside the world you're familiar with. Travel isn't just about changing location. It's about changing perspective. It's about being vulnerable in unfamiliar places and learning to see yourself in a new light. Pakistan became that place for me, the place where I discovered not only more of the world but more of myself. From the moment I stepped off the plane, everything was different. The sounds, the smells, the way the city moved. I was no longer in control, no longer able to predict every moment of the day. I was in a place where I didn't know the rules, where I had to listen more, observe more, and let go of the need to always know what came next. And in that space of uncertainty, I found clarity. I started to realize how much of my identity had been tied to convenience, speed, and control. In Pakistan, life moved differently. People had time to sit with one another, to drink tea slowly, to greet each other with full attention. That rhythm began to change me. I began to slow down, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. I discovered that I was more patient than I thought. I discovered that I could adapt, that I didn't need everything to go my way to feel content. I discovered that I could connect with people on a deeper level, even when we didn't speak the same language. And as I explored different cities and villages, I started asking myself bigger questions. What kind of life do I really want? What do I truly value? What have I been missing while chasing what I thought mattered? I realized that becoming isn't about becoming someone else. It's about uncovering the layers of who you really are beneath the noise of daily life. It's about finding courage in discomfort, wisdom in stillness, and strength in humility. In Pakistan, I saw myself more clearly not because I was surrounded by mirrors, but because I was surrounded by people who lived authentically, who embraced simplicity, who honored their traditions and values with pride. That reflection helped me see what I wanted to carry forward and what I needed to leave behind. When I returned home, I was no longer satisfied with staying the same. I had grown, I had expanded. I had tasted a new version of myself, and I wanted to keep becoming. That's what travel does when you open your heart to it. It doesn't just show you the world. It introduces you to the parts of yourself you didn't know were waiting to be found. Sometimes strangers reflect your best self back to you. That's not just a poetic line. It's a truth I lived when I visited Pakistan. I didn't go there expecting to change. I went there with curiosity, maybe with a bit of adventure in mind, thinking I'd learn a few things, see some beautiful places, eat great food, and head back home with some stories. What I didn't realize is that the people I met, complete strangers, would help me see parts of myself I had forgotten or maybe never really knew existed. They didn't know my past. They didn't carry any assumptions about who I was, and because of that, they treated me with a purity of intention that was humbling. And in their reflection, I found someone more open, more compassionate, more alive. I remember the first time I really felt it. I was walking through a local market, not looking for anything specific, just taking it all in. A shopkeeper noticed me and called me over, not to sell me something, but just to talk. His English was broken, my Urdu was worse, but we shared smiles, a few words, and a lot of hand gestures. He offered me tea and motioned for me to sit. We sat there, surrounded by the buzz of daily life, just being human together. And in that simple moment, I realized how deeply we can connect without knowing each other's language. He treated me with kindness, not because he had to, but because it was in his nature. And in doing that, he reminded me that kindness is in my nature too, something that gets buried under stress, busyness, and self-protection. In another town, a family invited me into their home. They didn't ask where I was from, what I did, or how long I was staying. They simply saw someone alone and extended their hand. They offered food, shared stories, and treated me like one of their own. The way they included me so effortlessly, without hesitation, made me reflect on how guarded we often are with strangers back home. Their openness pulled something out of me, a desire to be more trusting, more generous, more present. Throughout my time in Pakistan, it kept happening. Taxi drivers, waiters, children playing in alleyways. Everyone treated me as if I belonged, as if I mattered. And because of that, I started behaving differently. I listened more, I smiled more, I let go of judgment, I slowed down. These strangers didn't know my story, yet their behavior encouraged a better version of me to rise to the surface. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was just responding to the goodness I was receiving. That's the magic of it. When people treat you with unexpected warmth, it wakes something up inside you. It reminds you that your best self isn't something you have to invent. It's already in you, waiting to be called forward. Sometimes it just takes strangers in a faraway place to help you see what's been there all along. You're never the same after a place touches your soul. You don't just visit Pakistan, it lives in you. Before I went, I thought it would just be another destination. I thought I'd go, see a few famous spots, take some pictures, eat some good food, and come back home with memories like I had after other trips. But Pakistan was different. It wasn't just a place I passed through. It was a place that passed through me. From the moment I arrived, something felt deeper. There was a pulse, a presence, a sense of spirit that surrounded everything, from the people to the landscape to the air itself. It was like the land had a heartbeat, and somehow mine started to beat in rhythm with it. It wasn't one big moment that changed me. It was all the little ones. It was being greeted with a smile that felt like home from someone who had never seen me before. It was the sound of the call to prayer echoing through the streets at sunrise, waking something sacred inside me. It was sitting with strangers over tea who treated me like family just because I was there. There was a kind of honesty in every interaction, simple, pure, and powerful. No pretense, no rush, just presence. Just heart. That kind of atmosphere does something to you. It quiets the noise in your head and brings you face to face with what really matters. As I traveled through different cities and villages, I found the culture rich not just in tradition, but in soul. Whether I was walking the busy streets of Karachi or watching the sun set behind the mountains in Hunza, there was a constant thread of depth, of connection. The people didn't just live there, they belonged there. Their identity was tied to their land, their families, their faith, their stories, and that sense of belonging was contagious. It made me question where I truly felt at home, what I truly valued, and what parts of myself I had left unexplored. It made me reflect on how often I'd been distracted by things that don't last, and how rarely I had stopped to appreciate the things that do. Leaving Pakistan wasn't just the end of a trip. It was like leaving a piece of myself behind. But it also felt like I took something with me, something real, something lasting. I came back different, softer, wiser, quieter in the best way. I found myself being more intentional, more grateful, more aware. Because when a place touches your soul, it doesn't let go. It changes how you see the world. It changes how you walk through it. Pakistan gave me something I didn't even know I was searching for. And now, no matter where I go, a part of me still walks those streets, still breathes that air, still carries that light. I didn't just visit Pakistan, it became part of who I am.